Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Hall. I'm not Kitty Radcliffe, and Kitty has been called away to an important conference call. She's a member of the PCMA Board of Directors, and they called an urgent session, and she is in the process right now of participating on that call with the hopes that she's going to be able to break off toward the end of our program today. So after my brief introduction, we're going to have a rich panel conversation. I'm so excited about this and so appreciative. Panel conversation is going to be led by our very own Jennifer Poindexter, Director of Convention Services, alum of the St. Louis Zoo, the world famous St. Louis Zoo, where she served as Meeting and Catering Director for over 15 years. JP, I don't know if you realize this, but you've been with us now for almost 2 years.
I know.
We couldn't be more delighted to have you at the helm running Convention Services. And I know that you're going to introduce your panelists in just a minute and get into some of the questions. But after the panel conversation, we're going to invite Eric Janicki to share his screen and give us a quick sales update. And then today is the day of schedule conflicts. Jennifer Holenkamp was going to do the marketing update, but she's been pulled in a different direction. So you're going to have to rely on me. I'll try to muddle my way through a marketing update for everybody. But with that, let's get started. We are quickly exceeding 80 attendees, and I would imagine that we're going to see many more over the next couple of minutes. Once again, panelists, thank you so much for being here. Jennifer Poindexter is going to guide you through what I think will be a really interesting conversation in reference to managing clients and their expectations during this very trying time period, keeping everybody safe, maintaining connections and relationships with those clients that perhaps aren't active with activity right now, meeting activity. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to our moderator, my good friend Jennifer Poindexter, Director of Convention Services of Explore St. Louis. JP.
Got it, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited about this group today. One of the things that we wanted to do is make sure we had a diverse mix of business here. They represent you. They represent our hospitality community. And I'm super excited to have Jody Matthews from the Marriott St. Louis Grand, Julie Kroll from Destination St. Louis, Michelle Robinson from Nestle Purina Pet Care, Kelly Richter from City Museum. Thank you, ladies. We're going to have a good conversation. We're talking about engagement, client services, but what we're really talking about is not just what's right now. We are talking about what we do every day, and that's helping people to be prepared in advance for what's coming. And a number of people ask, well, what do you do every day? There's nothing going on. Well, there's plenty. There is plenty. Whether I am making sure there's webinars I'm participating in, new documents, new protocols that we're creating, or talking to clients in 2028. There's something going on. There's business that is happening. There's creativity and innovation that's happening. And we just want to encourage you today. So we'll get started. I will note that in the recap notes that Barry Draper, our Director of Partnership, will send to you later. Any reference items that we share, we'll make sure that's in the reference notes later. So if you're writing too fast, or if I'm talking too fast, or we start to laugh, don't worry, we'll capture some of that information that you can use. But I just encourage you to reimagine what's possible. We just saw the Emmys. The Forest Park Balloon Race this weekend was amazing. Reimagine Shakespeare in the Park. And that's what we just have to do every day now. So what we already do was hard. I had a general manager one time and say, your job really isn't rocket science. And I said, I disagree with you, sir. Come on over here. So it is my pleasure to be able to help represent you, all of you rocket scientists, all of you magic makers out there. And we're just going to give you some helpful tools and just say something that is kind of hard. Don't be scared right now. Lean on your partners, lean on your friends, and let's just make it to the other side. So all of that, thanks for letting me say it. I have to say one more thing before we get started. My partner in service and my colleague, Darian Richard, is on this call today. I couldn't make it without him. So he is another person representing you in this hospitality industry with Explore St. Louis. And I just want to tell him thank you out loud. So thanks for letting me say that. All right, ladies, let's get started. One of our first questions, again, we're not just going to talk about we're not talking about doom and gloom. We're talking about tools and resources for you all to move forward. But we can't talk about that without talking about safety. But that's a key component right now. When we were working through the reopening protocols, Julie Kroll was on that team, again, representing our hospitality community. We all agreed there has to be someone with their eye on the prize to make sure we're creating good protocols, that they're being reinforced, that they're being communicated, and we're following up. And so a lot of plans include a safety protocol officer. I'd just like to talk to each one of you all about some safety procedures that you guys are putting in place. Disinfecting, hazard management, that's just above and beyond what you've done. What are your experiences? What do you see moving forward? Maybe let's start with Michelle. Michelle actually had her first event last night, so let's talk with Michelle first.
Michelle, could we unmute you?
You're on mute, Michelle.
Oh, I am?
Oh, now you're good.
Gotcha.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. My apologies. Technology, whew. So we don't have one safety protocol officer, Karina. We have a task force that's comprised of many different departments and divisions, from security to our in-house nurse practitioner that we already had before COVID, to various members of the executive leadership team and my manager in meeting and travel, that they discuss COVID safety on a regular basis, and that information is trickled down to the rest of us, particularly meeting and travel. So we try to make sure that we adhere to those guidelines. There's no travel until Q1 of 2021. And then we adhere to state guidelines in terms of face-to-face meetings. So you mentioned my event yesterday. That is literally my first event since the first week in March. So I was over the moon excited, and so were the suppliers that provided that event for me. So it went off without a hitch. We definitely had safety protocols. It was a buffet, but we had plexiglass between the server and the participants. There was plexiglass at the bar between the bartender and the participants. There were floor talkers on the floor that denoted where people should stand for safe social distancing. I had labels made for each table for the high boys as well as the rounds, denoting a safe amount of people at the table, just because people tend to congregate. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Doing my due diligence, doing site inspections of places I've already been to make sure that they have a different lens for COVID safety, and also advancing all events to make sure that I'm at a comfort level for safety. I'm going to do another one today. And as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to check on the setup to make sure I'm comfortable.
That's great. Thank you. And thanks for using that word, advancing the events. So thank you. Kelly, City Museum, what's going on?
Yeah, of course. Well, I know everybody in the hotel hospitality industry, we're problem solvers. So, you know, this came out and we decided that we had to solve these problems. So we went to every department in the museum. You know, we had operations, we had the events, we had floor staff, all the supervisors, and kind of came together to decide what would be most realistic, what's sustainable. We also, of course, took all of the guidelines from health and safety through the city. We went and looked at guidelines from other cities as well to see, you know, other cities were in different places. Obviously, COVID didn't hit one place in one particular way. So we could kind of see in a different area, they were hit harder, and then all of a sudden they started doing events and we could see what worked. We have limited hours now, so we're using that time to use a special biomist. So obviously with City Museum, lots of climbers and things to touch, and of course COVID nightmare. So everybody knew that that was huge, to get people back in the door. We wanted to make them feel comfortable and know that safety was the highest concern. So, masks, of course, hand sanitizer everywhere. Our crew was super excited to build plexiglass. So of course, like City Museum did, they created that for us. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that people are doing around the city, and just to make everyone feel comfortable, which is definitely, we've seen more people in the door because of it.
Thank you, and thanks for communicating that, because if people couldn't visit City Museum, they would be a little sad. So thank you.
I know, we're opening the roof this weekend, so even more outdoor space.
Awesome.
Julie, I'm super excited, glad that Julie is a partner at Destination St. Louis. We had to say out loud, hey, Julie, Angie, I know that you guys are working on a new line of services for your organization. Do you have that ready? Can we put that out to people? Because they're really stepping forward and saying, we will help you through this. Can you share some information about that and how clients are responding to it?
Sure. As Michelle and Kelly kind of touched on and alluded, one of the things is, as the local DMC, we are partnering, of course, with our hotel partners and our local corporate clients and our venues, because we're in all of these spots. And what has come of COVID is that our clients and partners are coming to us and saying, how do we make this work? And we're able to kind of pull on the knowledge that we've got from locally doing our research, and then our partners around the country. One of the things we always said was the devil was in the details for every event we produce. And it's never been more true, because with the protocols and safety standards put in place now with COVID, it really is all about detail work, and someone has to be responsible for that. So as the DMC, a lot of times with our clients, we are taking on that responsibility, and we're giving them options. So yes, Michelle's doing an event, and how do we take that to one step further? So do we need to add staff on that can kind of be at the door checkers, doing those questions in advance of, have you had your temperature taken today? How are you feeling today? That level of comfort, we're providing extra sanitizing. So if we do an event and you've got tables of cocktail tables where people are gathering, you have a lounge grouping where people are gathering, extra staff to kind of follow up behind someone has been at the table. Do we need to wipe the table down? Do we need to wipe the seating area down, even in the midst of the event? Because what we know with corporate events is it's not a gathering of 25% or 50% capacity of people it's 25 and 50% of people that you don't necessarily know. So to give that comfort level, some folks are very comfortable and they don't have a problem, but some folks, we want them to feel comfortable. So we want to see them, we've always been used to hiding, cleaning up, and those cleaning crews in the background. We never wanted people to see that, oh, the cleaning crew's coming in. We want them to be seen. We want our staff to be there. They're walking around. They've got the disinfectant wipes. They're wearing the mask. They've got a handful of masks to hand to people if it's in a place where masks are required. And I think the other thing that's really important that we've kind of had a lot of experience with the events is there's a lot of discussion around doing events now and having, wristbands for what level of comfort you feel good about. But I think we need to be focusing on what the rules are, because the goal is to have events, and the goal is to open up those capacities and get back to whatever the normal is going to be. So we don't want to bend the rules. We want to make sure that we're following the rules. We want to make sure that the hotels and the venues and the spaces where we're doing events, that we're recognizing and respecting the rules that are put in place by the government and by the state agencies. And so we're saying, if you're saying you're 50% and we shouldn't be hugging and we all should have masks on, then our staff's job is to make sure, to go around and make sure, okay, we're doing that, and we're not kind of whipping our masks off at the end and shoving, an extra 25% of people in there. So our clients are really looking to us to kind of be that voice of reason and think about these things for them so that they can continue just focusing on the content of their meeting.
That's awesome. Thank you. And thank you for providing that service. We appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. We're here to work.
There we go. Jody, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. So we know that beyond Marriott standards, the Marriott St. Louis grant has done a number of things to help mitigate the impact of COVID and COVID in your environment. If you can give us like 2 things that have just kind of wowed you about changing your operations, but maybe also, can you share how you're communicating that with your clients so they feel safe?
Yeah, we do. Marriott has a commitment to clean, and we do have sure that we are sending out to our meeting planners, also to these social events that are happening.
Jody, could you get a little closer to your microphone?
I know there's like stuff going on on the street, of course. So we have a commitment to clean here at Marriott, and we have cleaning standards. We have a cleaning champion here at the hotel that makes sure that everybody is trained and meets all of the standards that we have, especially around making sure we are adhering to local and government policies with face masks in all of our public areas and having face masks available to those who do not have face masks. We have hand sanitizer.
Jody, we're having audio problems. Could I ask for Mark Hermes to see if he can work it out with you, and then we'll come back to you in a minute. AP, if you want to pivot to the next panelist, that'd be great.
No problem. So we're just going to switch over. Jody was talking about the Marriott's commitment to clean, and you can find that online. We'll give that information in your notes. But I will have to say their team has been very helpful when we're planning for large citywide conventions, going through the detail of how to get people from the rooms, through the elevators, through service corridors, which exits and entrances are we going to use? How are we managing Starbucks? Again, like Julie said, the devil's in the details, and we need to just work in advance to make sure we're ready for it. And Marriott and all of our hotel partners have been very helpful with those notes. One of the things we're talking about communicating with our clients, how can we be better partners? We know that no matter what, whether you are a supplier partner or you are a services partner, our client, your timeline to plan and implement is shrinking. And so we also know that there's a diminishment of people power. Where there were 7, there's now 1. And so priorities have to shift. Kelly and Michelle, can I count on you? Just kind of talk about some insights, what you guys are dealing with and how you're, what are those new priorities for you and how are you pulling through? Kelly, can you start?
Sure. So, obviously, making the experience from start to finish, we always wanted it to be a good one, but, now it's just even more important to make it seamless, comfortable, safe, and worth it. Because to be totally honest, if everyone's like me, our life, the way it was, stopped in March, and it's only slowly been kind of easing back into what our usual routine was. So, no big parties, vacations, anything that somebody wanted to do or plan kind of had to be put on hold. So now when they're starting to, we want to make sure that the time and effort that they're putting into it, that we're putting into it, makes it worth their time. Maybe they'll only do one party this year, one event, or one meeting. So we want to make sure that we give them the most attention we can. Like you said, everything's sort of diminished. We're working on a team of 1 over here. So yeah, I know there's a lot of people that are working and limited hours. So we have to be flexible. I have found that, it's not ideal for anything, but we're all just working with what we have. So I will answer an email at 10 p.m. I will log on at 7 a.m. If someone says they have to monitor their kids' school because I'm doing the same thing with kids in the other room, then I will say, then I'll meet you at the museum at 5 for a tour. Like, is that the end of the day? I think being flexible and being understanding is just more important than ever, and to have empathy for everyone else's situation. Everybody's in a different position, whether it's you have nobody at home and you're lonely, or you have too many people at home and you want to get out. It's just, everyone is in a tough position, and I think we all need to be flexible and understanding with each other, and to communicate with other members of the industry, and to coordinate and collaborate. If there's something that I can't provide, but I know somebody at the zoo or someone at the Marriott, or if someone else can provide it, I want to be able to give those referrals and have that relationship.
That's perfect. Thank you. Michelle.
So yeah, to piggyback a little bit on what Kelly said, I got two favorite phrases. Right before this, Karina always talked to us about agility, and there is no better example of agility than now. We have to be agile, and in the industry, we use the term pivot a lot. I've had to pivot a lot, and also give people and give myself COVID grace. Everything is not gonna, much like Kelly said, things are gonna change. We're gonna have to be quick on the fly. We might not have audio when we speak at a panel. And we have to, you know what I mean? We just have to roll with the punches. So pre-COVID, Purina was already short-term in terms of planning a time frame for our staff to plan meetings and events. So I was accustomed to being able to do that. But now I understand it might be even more short-term. The event that I planned last night, and the one I planned today, and the one tomorrow, I just got this Thursday evening. So between last Thursday evening and now, I had an event last night. So talk about short term, right? But the agility, I was excited for this business. I couldn't wait to plan it. And the suppliers were also eager to get this business. So we all understood that this is our new normal. To piggyback on what Julie said, our new normal, we don't know what that looks and feels like, but right now this is our new normal. So we could either gripe about it or roll with the punches, and I'm happy to pivot and make those things happen. Always ready to prepare for a situation, and like Kelly said, make sure that I can make them as happy and as a feeling of safety and security as possible. We all know that this is a big unknown beast that we're fighting, right? But if I can put an event outdoors at a time like this when the weather is beautiful, then I'll be more inclined to put it outdoors with an indoor backup, because I know people might feel more comfortable. Making sure that there's social distancing, making sure that we tell them to wear a mask when you're not eating and drinking. And like Julie said, at Purina, we take temperatures every day. And this is an on-campus meeting, so they've had their temperature checked. So just doing our due diligence to make sure that they're comfortable as possible, and giving them, like Kelly said, the best experience possible.
Right. I love it. COVID grace, and then also make it seamless, comfortable, safe, and worth it. I love it. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jody Matthews is back. Let's help welcome her back. We're going to move to our next question. So one of the things I noticed, so the American Society of Association Executives, they did a recap last week on how they created their annual meeting, partners they worked with, things they had to overcome. And one of the big things was the engagement piece. As we moved from designers to planners and really paid attention to people, not just the function of meetings and the function of events. Someone said, well, what about their experience? Duh. But even more so now that there's this connection, there's a disconnection, and we need to be even more mindful of it. People are asking about those engagement pieces. Jody, how are you helping people transition now? Because where we would have maybe thought about 2 or 3 post points to insert an experience or an energy experience, it is even more consistent now, maybe. Can you just share some feedback that you've had from clients? Jody, I'm so sorry. I think we're still a little muted on you, and I'm sorry this isn't working. We're going to get Jody's notes and we're going to put them in a recap. But Mark, I'm sure, can help her as well. And then when we're ready, just give me a thumbs up and I'll pull you back in, okay? We'll move over. How about this? Julie, can you pick up that that question just about engagement, opportunities, feedback you're getting from clients. And, you know, one of the things I really want to ask is it's sustainable? Is it sustainable from a financial impact or programming? You still have to get manage a certain level of business protocol. Is this sustainable?
I think that the key is looking at how the meeting is taking place as a whole and recognizing that all virtual is not sustainable, but all face-to-face is not sustainable either. And so that's what we're finding, and that's what we're working through with our clients. They're coming to us and they're saying, we want to meet, we want to have meetings. There is, you know, at the inherent heart of hospitality, whether you're at a hotel, a venue, whatever, we are truly working together because we want to create these, we're magic makers. We want to create these moments. But we cannot just do all that virtually. There's people, and there's pushback already. People are like, I want to meet, I want to be there, I want to touch you, I want to see you, I want to experience that. And then there are still folks that are like, I'm not ready for that. I'm good with this, I'm good with the screen, I'm seeing you. And so what we are really working through with our clients is how do we create that, those experiences for people, and we're really kind of hybriding. I think eventually we are going to go to a heavier face-to-face thing, but I don't think we'll ever lose this opportunity for folks to not have that virtual option. And that's just going to be the nature of the thing. We're seeing it with schools. I think snow days are probably a thing of the past. What we've learned with schools now is you don't have to have a snow day, you can just have a virtual day. So I think in meetings and events, that's really where we are. And I think that that's how it's going to become sustainable, is that we're going to have to create this thing where we're really looking forward when we're planning meetings, is making sure that we're thinking about both audiences and how are we engaging them. And it can't just be we're having a day-long meeting and we're putting a screen up and people can log in, because that's not sustainable for the virtual. And we can't have a virtual meeting and then expect the people in person to just log in. So we've got to really be creative, and that's the exciting part of this whole thing, where, you know, you're sitting at your desk and you're always looking for a new challenge. Well, the new challenge is now, how are we taking a meeting and making it impactful for both of those, in person and not at the meeting. But financially, no, it's not sustainable for every company to just go all virtual, because you lose that people to people touch. And I think that that's really what the world is kind of built on. So
yeah, definitely. No, I mean, the great thing is I just got off a call with a client about an hour ago, and where they're anticipating a greater number of participants, still a good base of face-to-face, but a greater number of participants, because you do have that hybrid option that's available. That's the same thing ASAE saw. ASAE this year had 14,000 participants. Their annual meeting is normally 7,000. Mm-hmm. When they move to the hybrid model next year, they'll probably grow that 7,000. But those people who were never able to come, whether it was for monetary reasons or timing, you still get that opportunity to reach them and connect with them. Now, how do you engage them? Do you create sea lion shows that are virtual? Do you create everyday circus shows that are virtual? Do you create Purina pet shows at Union Station? Do you do that? You know, do you do those things? And how consistently, where do you place them? Where does it fit? The answer is probably yes, because they found out that people love it. So it's above and beyond. And that's what really that I expect moving forward. It's above and beyond whatever we can do. So that's a charge to all of us to figure out what is that above and beyond. Michelle, one cool thing you've seen recently that you can't wait to use?
I really like the Wheel of Names. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it for a virtual meeting. It literally reminds you of Wheel of Fortune, and you put all the participants' names in advance, and then you take a little break and the wheel spins, And then they have some audio built in where people are cheering and clapping, and whoever name it lands on, we give them a prize. You know, I'm thinking like an Amazon gift card or Uber Eats or Groupon or Gruber, whatever, Grubhub, I'm sorry. So yeah, I like that. I don't know if anybody's used it before.
That's cool. And you can keep spinning and keep giving out gifts if you
Yes.
are so Oprah inspired.
Yeah, and you have to be present to win. So if you decide you're going to cut out of that virtual meeting early and sneak out, guess what? You miss out.
That's
You know,
awesome.
I think one of the neat things too with doing virtual and then you have folks in person is figuring out a way to like bring them together. So whether it's, you know, everyone's doing a champagne toast at one time and everyone that is virtual has been sent a mini thing of champagne, and it's like we're all opening our box at the same time and we're all seeing our same gift at the same time. So you're trying to kind of bring them together and create that excitement and that Oprah moment where everyone in the audience, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a bottle of champagne, you get a bottle of champagne, and we're all toasting together. So I think that's where we really have to start figuring out is what are things we can do that kind of bridge that, you know, computer gap, that, you know, information superhighway where it kind of brings us all together. And it does, like the wheel of names, and it's like that person whose name it lands on, you know, guess what, the screen's going to flash to them and they're going to get a prize, and you have 2 seconds to do your acceptance speech, you know.
Yeah.
Just something to kind of, I don't know, make it more fun.
Yeah, keep engagement going and connection. You know, there is we're gonna start wrapping this up because we're at like 2:30, but it's been great having you all. Jody is back. When Jody, you're ready, give me a thumbs up and let me know if you think you are good to go. I'm gonna shoot
I
this.
think so.
Oh, well, hello, Jody. Thank you.
Let there be audio.
It's awesome. Let's pull this question to you. So our world has changed. That is period, point blank. There's no doubt about it. Our world has changed. You know, what are some things that that keep popping up for you that normally isn't a priority? It's not a target. It's not a trigger for anything for people. What are some things that are popping up that you need to pay attention to now to help you do your job well and to service your clients well?
Yeah, it's just making sure that my clients that they're comfortable with what we're doing, making sure they understand all the protocols that we have in place here, making sure that their guests are and their attendees are comfortable coming, making sure that we have the food station set up correctly, their check-in process is great. We do offer a mobile key now so that they don't have to go to the front desk. They can check in online, that we are going to social distance with them, that we are going to help them with buffets and making sure that the service and that the cleanliness standards are up to par, and making sure that everybody is comfortable to come and have meetings again and enjoy meetings and see the people, but make sure that the social distancing and the cleanliness standards are there for them, and making sure that you just want everybody to be comfortable and want to be there and enjoy their time there. And that's what we're here to do is, you know, hospitality, take care of your customers and take care of everybody and make sure everybody has a great time.
Right. Thank
while
you.
being safe.
Make it worth it. I'm getting a t-shirt that
Yep.
says make it worth it. Even
Make
with
it
all
worth
of
it.
it. Make it worth it. That's perfect. Anything else? Is there anything that is just burning in your heart to say? Because if not, we're gonna close this up in just a second. Michelle, if it's Takeout Tuesday, what restaurant are you suggesting for people?
Oh my God, I'm a big foodie. I love everything. One of my favorite places lately is Lefty's Fried Rice.
There we go. Perfect.
Yep.
Hopefully someone Googles that and goes.
Yeah.
Kelly, there. How last little staycation moment that you guys had together? What'd you guys do?
We went to Brodagam Orchards, which is a little bit further east than Eckert's, and we did some apple picking over Labor Day. So we had our masks and we got to do something normal, and it felt amazing.
That's awesome. That is cool. Julie, woman about town, what's next for you? Where are you going to go visit? Take back the information.
Well, I will say last night I went to McGurk's Patio, which I hadn't been down to since all of this began, and it's probably one of my most favorite patios in St. Louis.
Mine too.
And tonight I'm super excited because I'm checking out the new Mission Taco in Kirkwood. So I usually never go anywhere. But I've got plans every night this week, so I'm feeling very fancy. But I do want to just say thank you, Jennifer, for when you put this panel together. I don't know if you realized what a girl power panel you put together this week. So,
I did.
girl power, thank you.
I did. Jody, downtown, what's your favorite downtown right now? Favorite restaurant?
I like going over. Well, I'm always at Sugar Fire. But yeah, I have my Sugar Fire. And walking through City Park and then also just heading down to the Arch Grounds. It's always fun to go down and just, walk around, get out.
There you
and
go.
It's beautiful right now.
Happy fall, everybody. Julie, yes, I knew that this was going to be a powerful experience. I am so fortunate when we get to talk to clients and talk about our hospitality community. 54% of our community are women. They're amazing professionals. They're smart, they're caring, and we work in advance to make it worth it. So I'm making t-shirts. I'm sending them to you all. And you just keep moving, everybody, and we're all good. So thanks for joining us today, Michelle, Kelly, Julie, Jody. We appreciate everybody joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the offer.
Thank you, ladies. It was absolutely phenomenal. Really appreciate it. Before we go to Eric Janicki for a sales update in just a minute, there is one question that I would love for any or all of you to respond to. And the question is, I am curious if there is a resource of videos or tours in one place to show off St. Louis.
I think so.
What would that one-stop shop be, JP?
It's stlouis.com.
And Barry Draper will send a video link as part of the recap to our YouTube channel, where we've got a treasure trove of video resources that you could serve up, ranging from neighborhood tours and discussions about cuisine to attractions throughout the community, to AC Next Gen, to a whole host of video content that we'd be delighted for you to tap into. All right, well, with that, Eric, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and turn your screen on so that we can see your smiling face. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Janicki, Acting VP of Sales of Explore St. Louis, here to give us a quick update in reference, notice I said quick update in reference to what's happening in the wonderful world of sales.
Well, Jennifer didn't ask me what my favorite meal was downtown. Brian, what is my favorite dish?
That would be the salmon salad at High Point Drive-In downtown.
You got it. So very simple, but very good. So
I had it today.
And I am looking forward to the day that I can eat it again. I'm looking forward to coming back to St. Louis. But thank you. Hey, a great panel. Maybe next time you can litter it with a guy in there just to get a different perspective. But you're very appreciating the great hard work. We love Jennifer. She's the best on our team. So now going to sales. I was thinking, because Brian said the time is limited today because we have a lot to cover. So I wanted to put on one screen a little recap of everything that's going on, and everything from the bookings, lead volume, the activity through Cvent, our tentative activity, and where we are with cancellations. And I think the sales bookings themselves speak loudly that we're starting to see a little generation of new bookings coming on. And like I said last week, a lot of them are rebooks. But it is positive that we're starting to see the trend up and coming out of the COVID. Right below there, when we look at COVID-related, and this is CVC-generated cancellations, meaning that we were part of the contract negotiations. You're looking at, I shared with the sales team this morning, $171 million economic impact. I mean, this is huge, and we're trying to really instill in each of our sales players that every meeting, every activity you book will make an impact to bring us back to where we used to be. Just a little sub note, it hasn't moved in the last 3 weeks. So we haven't really seen any additional cancellations. A lot of concerns from customers, especially at the beginning of 2021, but nobody really making difficult choices as to not having their programs. New leads, we have a little activity. We have 2 events that came on for 2021, which is nice to see. So it's really late first quarter into second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I think we look at normalizing activity. Brian shared this morning in the sales meeting that we all look at 22 is that we're back to normalcy as to trends and pace. Now, Cvent, which is the greatest generator for people that are on the hotel side, you know what Cvent is. People that really aren't on the hotel side, Cvent is where a lot of our lead activity comes through. It's we really haven't seen much activity, and the activity we've seen are really for self-contained small meetings. So we'd love to hear from your team, especially Miranda, who is our partner to the hotels in the area for the smaller meetings. We'd like to hear from you is, are you starting to see sales activity from small meetings? From the large ones, we will see it always, and it will be part of our reporting, but we'd like to hear from you as well after the meeting. CVC generated tentative activity. I put this on here just to show how much is out there that we need to capture. We have over 700,000 room nights and 180 events out there in all years. Even through June of next year, we have 45,000 or 46,000 room nights that we still need to book to get our pace up and get into definite status. So there is more to do, and I will turn it over to Brian because a lot of what he's going to discuss, the AC Next Gen, media and ad placements, all are there to really get our footing, get some traction, and really see some activity coming forward. So Mark, if you could go to the next slide real quick. And on next Monday, we're going to host our second virtual client event, and it's Monday through Thursday. It's all geared to AC Next Gen accounts. These are accounts that are citywide accounts that would utilize a 60,000 square foot ballroom. Probably 95% of these accounts have never met in St. Louis or couldn't meet in St. Louis. So it's a great opportunity next week. So more to come when I do a recap on that. So Brian, I'm going to put it over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Eric. Appreciate the update. And again, JP and the ladies, that was an outstanding panel conversation. We're going to have a recording of this entire session, and if you have any questions of any of the panelists, naturally, we'd be happy to field them and share them with each one of the panelists for them to answer as appropriate. The first thing that I wanted to provide you with is some fresh new creative that we just wrapped up. For Renee Eichelberger, who is our Director of Leisure Travel Sales. Renee works with many of the motor coach organizations, including the members of the American Bus Association, the National Tour Association, and a host of constituent parts, quite literally around the United States and in some cases around the world, in representing St. Louis as being a stop along the way for group tours. As part of our media campaign that is made possible this fall by CARES Act funding granted to us from the Missouri Division of Tourism, we're introducing a pair of new group tour ads. This is the first in the series of 2 that'll be running in ABA and NTA, and it reads, Safe Travels from the Land of Modern Architecture and Panoramic Views. So sort of a nod to the historic or nostalgic postcard technique. We use a visual metaphor through the center showing stops along the way. The logo in the center reads, "St. Louis is always exploring." And of course, this ad features a picture of our iconic Gateway Arch. And the next ad brings us to Forest Park and a stop over at the Missouri History Museum. So these ads are going to be running in October and November, and we look forward to carrying them on at the turn of the year as part of our overall approach to getting group travel activity re-engaged. We know that some activity is taking place in the community. Renee's been tracking this very carefully. We know that there are some bus programs or motor coach programs that are stopping in St. Louis, but they pale in comparison naturally to pre-COVID, and we'd very much like to get them ramped back up because they're putting all their own safety protocols in place to ensure a safe and enjoyable experience for their attendees. Next slide, Marcus. I saw that Dan Farrell was on the call, and I hope he still is, because I really appreciate Dan lending to us Todd Thomas, the in-stadium MC for the St. Louis Cardinals, because Todd has become the gift that keeps on giving. So Todd, this morning, if you had a chance to tune in to Fox 2 News, he was with Tim Ezell, and they were being a tourist in their own town, having a staycation, exploring all the assets and attributes of Union Station, talking about all the great things that people can do to create a staycation here in St. Louis. And the segments were absolutely fantastic. The interaction was great. You can see in that one shot on the left, they rode around the St. Louis wheel and had actually a live interview on the wheel. I'll have to reach out to the folks at LHM, but I think that might be a first, a live TV interview on the wheel. So in any event, if you go to the next slide, Mark, in addition to Union Station, this week, Todd is going to be featured over at the Gateway Arch River Boats, and then he's going to be at the St. Louis Zoo, 57,000 views and counting. On deck for next week, St. Louis Science Center and Ted Drews. Mark Hermes on our team, our social media manager, and Todd are going to go out next week for another whole installment of Where is Todd the Tourist? So as I said, this is the gift that keeps on giving. We love the interaction. Todd does a great job representing us, not only in this video series, but he also is the voice of our radio commercials. So Mark, if you pop over to the next slide. Here's a quick update in reference to where we stand concerning website performance for last week. We were off ever so slightly, but interestingly, from an occupancy standpoint, we actually crept up a bit. So the website activity didn't necessarily impact our occupancy because we returned to an occupancy level for the metro area just over 40%, much of which was centered on the weekend. If you take a look on the next slide at where this activity is coming from a geo-origin perspective, I shared with you on the last call, for those of you that were with us, that roughly 30% of all website traffic into ExploreStLouis.com is from the St. Louis MSA. 70% is from outside. Interestingly, we're finding a lot of interest in Chicago that is presently accounting for about 20% of the volume. And you'll see that rounding things out in both the region as well as the state of Illinois or several other communities that are producing substantial volume of website traction and activity into ExploreStLouis.com. So coming next week to our digital marketing campaign, we're actually going to be adding some video components. So we're going to be watching to see how that video component, in addition to all of the search and all of the display, how that's going to perform in reference to hopefully heightening website activity and giving us some additional eyeballs coming in and checking out the opportunities in St. Louis. If we move to the next slide, this is our weekly tracking slide that shows hotel occupancy. As I mentioned, we were just over 40 points of occupancy for the week ending September 19th. That was off from a high point that we experienced. Obviously, when you look at the shade of blue on the slide, that's comparing occupancy this year to last year. We're still a long way off from where we ought to be, but we reached a high point for the recovery phase of where we stand in the present calendar year. Over Labor Day weekend, we actually saw it trail off last week. We were hoping against hope that that wasn't going to be the beginning of a trend heading into the fall. And in fact, it isn't, because we bounced back up in the present week. But we're doing our best to hold on to as much leisure audience as we can. And then as we begin to recover, obviously, we're hoping that, that we see the return of more event activity and we see the return of more business travel. Because after all, we very much need a diversified portfolio to realize the potential of our destination. We bounce over to the next slide. This is what the occupancy looks like by day of week. You'll see that the trend is that Sunday is the low point. It builds throughout the week and it reaches a high point once again on Saturday, indicating to us that the commercial activity that's happening midweek is obviously not enough to sustain us. The leisure activity that's happening on weekends is great, but the rates are not where they need to be. And so in any event, creates a challenging situation for our community all the way around, but we're pushing hard and doing everything that we can to see the return of some of these other segments, as I alluded to a minute ago, including business travel and more meeting and event activity. So speaking of meeting and event activity, we're busy promoting AC Next Gen, and I shared last week, and I'm going to share it again this week for those of you that weren't with us, a glimpse of a new spread. This is a 4-color spread ad that's running in a host of meeting periodicals that I'll point to in just a second on the next slide up to bat. But what this ad does is it positions the America Center and St. Louis as being a meeting destination of the future. You know, given the fact that we're investing $175 million and we now have bond authority in the hands of Darlene Green, the comptroller of the city of St. Louis, and she's going to be pulling the trigger hopefully in the not too distant future and pricing the bonds and issuing them, that triggers all the activity that we've all been looking forward to for a number of years to actually see AC Next Gen come to fruition. But it's an interesting point in time because it really gives us the opportunity to embed into this advertising some of the protocols and some of the necessities and requirements that we've become familiar with during the pandemic. Activities like a GBAC cleaning accreditation that we're going to be receiving this week. It's the Good Housekeeping Seal of Cleaning Approval. It's like another activity using our Ferrara Theater as a hybrid meeting stage that we're putting into place probably within the next 3 to 4 weeks, and you're going to be hearing more about that very soon. It includes touchless entryways where you can actually walk up to the Washington Avenue or Plaza entrance to America Center and the doors will open automatically and you don't need to touch them. So in any event, this advertising campaign, Mark, if you go to the next slide, is running aggressively between now and the end of November, and then we'll bring it back after the holidays, hopefully, as funding is available. But it's running in this host periodicals, and we are going to virtually, within the industry trade press, we're going to be everywhere that you look. This is also supported with a public relations campaign. We have our national PR firm in New York called DCI, inviting writers to interview Kitty and to interview Eric and Stephanie in reference to what AC Next Gen represents as far as an opportunity for this community and some of our hotel partners as well. So we think this is a great time to strike because people have time on their hands right now to receive our message. And Eric's series of Connect with St. Louis that's going to be taking place next week is a great example. We're going to be bringing together about 20 clients and conducting a virtual program and presentation on AC Next Gen for those customers, and then we're going to have a series of one-on-one meetings. So with that brings us to the conclusion of our program. And once again, we invite anyone that has any questions to please write them in the question function. And I'm checking right now to see if there are any new questions that may have come in. And I don't see any. But we're always available to you. And if something occurs to you this afternoon or tomorrow, please don't hesitate to reach out to Barry Draper, our Director of Partnership. So once again, thank you to JP and the panel. Thanks to Eric Janicki for the great sales update. And with that, we'll sign off and say until next week. We've got a really interesting conversation coming up next week. We'll fill you in with more on email over the next couple of days. Thank you.